Welcome to Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast, everybody.
Yeah, that just went off without a hitch. I'll tell you what. Welcome.
Turn B1
Welcome.
on.
Coming out of Smashville, Tennessee. This is Adam Phuzen. No longer Adam Phuzen. This is Christopher Woodmore.
Whoop,
And this is Unbuckling the Bible Belt, episode 90.
Can I dance? Because I'm like so happy about this. I don't know if anybody, yes, it just happened. Woodmore is officially revealed. He is not Adam Phuzen. He is Woodmore.
Yes, no. I'm just me, man. After that, the NanoCon conference, and some conversations that I had with some more people, as I just felt it would be best in the interest of, you know, what we're doing and what we're all doing, just to go ahead and come out to the community and say, this is what I am. And I came out on Ask an Atheist Day, and I was very reluctant. I sat there and had my message typed, and I looked and I thought about it for about 30 minutes. And I went ahead and pressed the send button. And when it did, a bunch of magic happened. And we'll get into that here a little bit later.
Yeah, that's just, ooh, I can't wait. And there's even more you're doing. We'll talk about, you know, between getting married too. That's huge. And
just a bunch of good stuff's been going on lately. Yeah,
it's exciting. So we got our prodigal son has come home for at least a visit. You know, we know life is busy for you, but I was telling Adam/Christopher Woodmore now that
everybody calls me Woodmore. I'm just Woodmore. That's it. Everybody calls me Woodmore.
But it's nice because we're live now, so hopefully we can hook them to come back in more often because there's no editing to really.
Yeah.
And we also have another special guest. Yeah, we all know Joe.
Just saying, I'm special too.
Why don't you introduce our guest tonight, Joe?
It's Gleb Tsipursky. Did I get that right? I'm pretty sure I did. He is I guess the founder of the Pro-Truth Pledge. Is that a technical term, founder or
sure
instigator of said pledge? I don't. Associate professor at the Ohio State University, and all around good fella. And you look really super young in your photo.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, what a baby face.
Thank you. I have good genes.
Yes. Yeah. You'll appreciate that. I don't know, when you're getting your late 40s, mid 40s. I'm old as shit. I'm 40. I just turned 42, and I appreciate my oily skin.
It's a weird conversation.
So yeah, we're Gleb's on board tonight. He's going to be on, you know, talking about alternative facts. The way I look at it, a lot of what Gleb does is he's kind of helping a person live life thinking rationally, digesting information correctly, you know, seeing through the spin and understanding that, I think Gleb probably agree, you know, truth is not partisan. So
yes.
That's very, very important. He's also authored a couple of books. What I have is called Finding Your Purpose Using Science. I really like it. It's got like worksheets, which is really helpful to me. A lot of relatable stories involved, just to kind of help you apply science to everyday living to help keep on track, keep focused, that's something I've always struggled with, if people on this show can't tell. So it's nice I always look for those places that kind of help you find a path that kind of works and keep using the same strategic thinking every day. And you got to make it a habit. You really do. I'm just telling you. But you've also got another book in the works. Why don't you share with everybody what the name of this one is?
The Alternative to Alternative Facts, Fighting Post-Truth Politics with Behavioral Science.
I mean, the title just makes me curious already.
Excellent. That's the goal. So that book goes into We have a lot of books talking about why our brains are fucked up and, how we believe the wrong things and why we believe the wrong things and how that happens. A lot of good books on that, but we don't really have any books on how to solve that problem. How to fight, lies and deceptions, how to fight post-truth politics. And so my book is going
your own biases, yeah.
Yeah, so my book is going to be about fighting post-truth politics, focused not simply on yourself, kind of how to think accurately yourself, but also how to fight post-truth politics and in general lies and deceptions in other people, how to effectively get them to update toward the truth and to believe the truth as opposed to believing lies. So that's what the book is going to be about. That's it in a nutshell. And how do you organize other people to do so? So it's going to be a sort of a manual and a manifesto for a movement which I call, and others who are collaborating on this are calling the pro-truth movement. So orienting toward restoring the value of truth in our society. And by our society, I mean not simply the United States, but our global society. So this is a global movement, and this is what we're trying to accomplish.
And that's really important. Now, you also have your organization that your wife and yourself had founded back in 2014, wasn't it?
Exactly. So Intentional Insights is a nonprofit. It's at intentionalinsights.org. Again, intentionalinsights.org. And folks who are listening and watching can check it out. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting truth, rational thinking, social and emotional intelligence, and wise decision-making. So essentially behavioral science strategies to lead a good life. So we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we did with finding meaning and purpose in life. We also worked on things like relationships, charitable giving, business decision-making, how to decide which house to buy or so on, and on politics. So ever since this election cycle that started about 2 years ago, we've really shifted our energy much more toward politics because we think this is the area of biggest need for our society, where people are making the worst decisions that are bringing the greatest deal of suffering and tragedy to people in our society.
Oh, that's amazing, because I see that every day out of this area. They just do, that they involve everything in politics, and they'll bring anything out of the woodwork and anything that can be positively spun or get people to recognize what the heck they're reading, to make sure that it's not sponsored content or anything of that nature. It's just difficult in itself, and I think that could be very useful.
And Absolutely. It is, actually. You did an article recently. Was it Scientific America? Mm-hmm. I think you had written about, basically it's like a formatting error with a lot of what we see with today's, articles in the media that's being put out to the public. I think you used the example of Trump having complained about he made an outright accusation that Obama had basically wiretapped his communications, and you made and this is something I see, and I agree with you completely, especially when it comes to confirmation bias. When people see something that they want and they feel confirmed, they quit reading after that few sentences or paragraph, if they're lucky enough to get that far. That's a huge, huge problem. Fortunately, it took me a long time to train my brain to be skeptical of even what's confirming what I like to hear. Because I remember the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, or if it's completely sounding like what you want, it's, so this article was really interesting that you wrote, in particular about the actual formatting flaws. Now, do you think it's intentional by the media that they're skewing things this way? Or do you think it's just sloppy writing?
I think it's the incentives in the media are not oriented toward the truth. The incentives are oriented to get people to click on headlines. So the article was talking about how headlines are written in such a way as to be emotionally appealing. Research shows that about 6 in 10 people only read the headline of an article. And the headline of an article often doesn't actually represent what the article is about. And this is what I was talking about. Yes, it is clickbait. And so this is what I was talking about. The article is about Trump, accusing Obama of wiretapping him, or something like Obama is accused of wiretapping Trump Tower. Now, if you have the 6 in 10 people who only read the headline, what would they take away from that? 60% of readers would take away the perception that Obama, wiretapped Trump Tower. That's how our brain works.
Right.
40% of people would go into the article, and then the first couple of paragraphs in most articles describe the accusations. So most people who engage in confirmation bias, as you rightly pointed out, would simply stop reading there because their confirmation would be confirmed. Now, the smaller percentage of people whose biases are not going to be confirmed, they're going to be reading deeper and see that the accusations have absolutely no evidence. So Trump had absolutely no evidence of using Obama. But what is the percentage of people that's actually going to get to that part of the article? It's going to be very few. And that's very unfortunate, because that's how our society results in being so screwed up. One of many ways, is the way that the structure of the article is written. And I call on reporters to change the way that they are writing the articles, and I ask readers like yourselves to write to reporters when they see when that article headline doesn't match the content of the article, and call them out. Write letters to the editor, call them out on social media, because that works, and that helps change the writing of the reporters. So they're not writing clickbaity headlines, but they're actually writing headlines that represent the truth, which in this case would be, Trump makes another unfounded accusation, or something like that.
That's fake news, boy.
Exactly.
That's why I miss Al Jazeera America. That was probably the most unbiased source out there.
Yeah, I agree. I try to, I kind of like, it's like, even for me, it's tough just to sit down and I try to read the news. I don't want somebody to tell me the news. I want to read the news about what's going on, and I'll even go as far as reading in a leftist kind of format, and I'll double check it in a couple of right wing formats. And but it's just like what you say, they can write a story completely different and make it sound like, it's not much of a big deal. But on the other side of the table, it is this huge demonstrous deal of like what we have right now with the possibility of treason going on with Trump and all this Russia stuff. It's hard to keep up with it.
Absolutely. So, and reporters aren't helping us by writing clickbaity headlines instead of headlines that actually represent the situation as it is. And so one of the things that I am trying to do is change this by calling out reporters and empowering people like yourselves, everyone, to have easy tools to change this. It's easy to send a tweet to the reporter or to the newspaper that wrote this headline and say, hey, your headline doesn't represent the article. Boo on you. It's easy. It's easy to write a letter to the editor and say, hey, your headline doesn't represent the article. That's bad. And these are things that they pay attention to, and that changes their reporting. Because then you say, well, I'm going to recommend that I don't read this paper, and my friends don't read this paper. They pay attention to this. Social media complaints work. Writing letters to the editor work, and they pay attention. And this is how it's important to do things.
Does that kind of give the fake news kind of some kind of validation, because it is kind of a clickbaity thing that's not going to. I mean, not that saying that all the fake news, all the mainstream media is bad, but when there is kind of this, clickbaity kind of article that doesn't really match what the title is, it could give people pause and make them think, well, this guy, this news outlet is not responsible or telling the truth. I'm sure that doesn't help their case at all.
Well, the problem is that, again, 6 in 10 people would only read the headline.
That's correct. Yeah.
So if you want to change this, it's easy and it's doable. Every one of us. My goal is to, as part of the pro-truth movement, is to empower every one of us to take steps that would change things. And these are practical, everyday, small little activities that you can do to change these things and to change the reality of the political discourse in our society. Or you can ask the reporters.
Fantastic. I'm sold. I'm sold.
Another thing.
That's fantastic. We're going to put that down. That should be your headline right there. No
one reads past the
headline. That's golden.
I just hate being wrong, so I read everything.
Well, that's wonderful.
I can't. It's just an ego thing. It has nothing to do with really wanting to know the truth. But I'll be damned if I want to get caught in a lie.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think
In my debater mentality, I like to look at everybody's arguments just so I can find it wrong and rip it to shreds. So,
That's
it's
good.
just like, I got to read all of the details. And it's true. And I find that it took me a long time to, probably over the last 8 or 9 years, I've really started looking into all the details of what people claim and what they say. I feel it's very important that when they're taking that one line from Obama's speech, well, I'm going to go read the whole speech. Thanks. I need context of what's going on here. But at the same time, I think that it part of it, I also feel it's not just mainstream media. I mean, the average American, I think, what is the reading level of most Americans? Was it like 7th or 8th grade?
The average IQ is 100, so there you go.
people prefer to read at the 6th grade level.
Isn't that how papers are written, 5th or 6th grade level, I believe?
Yeah.
I think my mom told me that when I was like in 4th grade.
Yeah, it depends on which paper. If you have your local hometown paper, it's most likely written on 4th grade level.
Oh, it's Tennessee. That's probably 2nd grade.
Maybe. Tennessee 4th grade.
Yeah.
And
So kindergarten everywhere else.
You noticed that.
The Ohio State University, everybody.
Right. And then if you have something like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, it'll be written at 8th grade level. So there's a range.
Which is really shocking. Most people think, oh, it's Wall Street Journal. And it's like, yeah, they still have to dumb it down. I mean, you know what it's like being an author. I'm an author. And a lot of the times I have to run mine through that wonderful little program to say, okay, you're at this grade level.
Yep.
So if I'm automatically writing freshman college, and that to me is really pushing my vocabulary down, I already know, okay, now I've got to go back through and dilute it some more, which really stinks.
It does.
What do you do?
That's how we need to communicate. And I think the thing that we often forget, one of the things in behavioral science that research shows is that we tend to forget we project our minds on other people, and it's called the failure to other minds fallacy, where we essentially projection. The 3 of us here in this conversation, or the 4 of us, are outliers from the vast majority of Americans. The listeners to this program are outliers to the vast majority of Americans. Listeners to this program tend to be reason-oriented. They tend to read thoroughly. Most people are not. Most people are much more emotionally oriented. They don't care about your stupid facts.
They care about emotion, and that's I'm sure you've seen the studies. You have a better chance of changing someone's mind based on emotional argumentation than you do with reality and facts.
Absolutely, and therefore it's irrational to approach these people with reality and facts, because what's the point? So this is something that I do a lot when I talk to conservatives, and I appear on a number of conservative radio shows, and I lead with emotions, and I lead with engagement, effective communication, effective engagement. That's what I talk about in my book. How do you solve this problem? How you don't lead with reason, you don't lead with facts, you lead with emotions, you put yourself on the same side that they are, and you set a basis for the conversation, which is one of the reasons that one of the things we strongly advocate for reporters to do, as well as politicians, is to take the pro-truth pledge, as well as anyone you engage with in a conversation. That's a really nice filter. Are they willing to take the pro-truth pledge at protruthpledge.org and stick to it? And that could be a good filter for having a conversation with them, because if they're not willing to stick to the behaviors that are oriented toward the truth, which is what the pro-truth pledge is about, then why should you be having a conversation with them and wasting your time?
Yeah, so basically here in the South, one of my buddies comes up and or somebody I haven't seen in a while, and they might get a little political, and you just show the same fever towards anti-government establishment that comes along, and you don't really jump into your actual beliefs or which side you're on. You just present the fact that you're upset with what's going on as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good strategy, because then you're empathizing with them. You're both getting yourself on the same side emotionally.
Right.
And that's going to be crucial in order to engage with these people. Otherwise, you're just not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to actually succeed in reaching your goals. What's the point?
I do have a question. I have a lot of people on the left side, on the right side, that say the liberals all about emotion and not facts and blah, 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 blah. Which, I definitely see it on both sides. I totally fucking do.
Well, yeah, we're all emotional creatures too.
Yeah, but I've seen the liberal, the liberal of the left, liberalism being a mental disorder. That kind of shit.
A Bernie bot?
Yeah, but they say that it's like, liberals care about emotions and not facts. But I'm like, dude, you're emotionally reacting to Obama being a Muslim, which he isn't. My mother brings that up. I lost my mom. I've lost my mom mentally to anti-Obama stuff. Drives me nuts. Oh, it's a shame.
There's for research on this, if you're interested, Republicans have. It's the latest numbers I saw was something like 88% of Republicans don't trust fact-checking and don't practice fact-checking, whereas something like 50% of liberals, Democrats, people who identify as Democrat, practice and engage in fact-checking. And conservatives share fake news at the rate of about 3 to 4 times as much as liberals.
Yes, my mother does that constantly on Facebook.
Yeah, so this is kind of just data points to evaluate which side tends to be more emotionally oriented versus which side tends to be more reason oriented. Now, I'm not saying liberals are great. We still have 50% of people who aren't really doing fact checking and stuff like that. That's not good. But
Right.
Republicans, 88% of them don't trust and don't practice fact checking. That's really bad.
It's
and we
terrible.
we had something like liberals shared, according to a study, something like 7.4 million fake news on social media in the 3 months before the election, on Facebook in the 3 months before the election, and conservatives shared something like 30 million pieces of fake news. So again, like I said, over 4 times as much. So those are just statistics that are actually examined by research.
And the scary thing is, both my parents have 2 master's degrees apiece. My mother is a psychologist and a master's social worker who does PTSD counseling for the VA. And she's vehemently anti-Obama. Dirty Muslim. And I'm just like, that's the most insane. Yeah, and then my father, I kind of get. He does, he's retired anesthetist, but ex-military guy, so they're usually right-wing all the way, which is kind of how I grew up, right-wing, just being pro-military.
Same over here, man. Same over here. I have lost my mom to Fox News. I really have. It's there's no reaching out to her. She just has her own beliefs, and that's what they are, and they're difficult to. And it's your mother. How are you going to go and say, Mom? You just need to cut off that channel. You can't tell your mom what to do here in the South. By God,
I totally. My mom's a Yankee, so I can tell her that shit.
Oh well, yeah, but my mom's not.
But no, it's sad that people with advanced degrees
steel
hold that shit
cables
up.
to hang my ass, and I'll go get them.
Yeah, that's fair. Get a switch, boy.
Well, I'll tell you though, Gleb's got some firsthand experience with Fox News. How did you do that? The patience factor. Did you just know it was going to be an argument, or?
Whoa, you were on Fox News?
Yeah, on the local affiliate of Fox News, and I was doing an analysis of the debates, and it went pretty reasonably because I was able to come in as an expert and kind of present both sides of the picture. And the way you go with Fox News or something like that, a conservative radio show, is you need to lead with something a Democrat did wrong, and then go into something a Republican did wrong.
Exactly, the backhanded compliment thing.
Right. So now, even though Clinton engaged in much less deception during the debates, I mean, she did have some lies. So I said, here's the way that Clinton lied, and here's the way that Trump lied. So you need to go, when you talk to an audience like that, you need to lead with what they care about. Or so, for example, when I talk on conservative radio stations about like conspiracy theories or something like that, I say, conspiracy theories are bad. You remember when Democrats have the conspiracy theory about Bush being behind 9/11, and then Republicans have the conspiracy theory about Obama being a secret Muslim. So that way I can equalize, I can present like a
create more of an equal ground between the conversation.
Exactly. Now
I have a question though about,
Sure.
let's stay on
Hold on
conspiracy theories for a minute.
Mhm.
So how do you deal with anti-vaxxers in particular? Because that is one thread I see run straight through conservative and liberal.
Yeah, you have actually more liberal who are anti-vaxxers than conservative. So with anti-vaxxers, I kind of start talking to them about their emotions and what they care about, and what do they actually want to achieve. Like what goals do they want to achieve? I don't tell them that they're wrong. I start with, what goals do we share? Oh, they care about kids. Hey, well, how can we care about kids in the most effective manner? How can we get kids' health in the most effective manner?
Not let them die.
Let's compare how many kids are going to be healthy if they get vaccinated versus how many kids are not going to be healthy. Let's look at statistics and just look at the goal that we both share, which is all about kids. We care about kids and we want kids to be healthy. So how do we do that? And then I point out to, measles epidemics and say, hey, this is a really dangerous thing. Look what happens. And look what happens with kids who are vaccinated and get autism and kids who aren't vaccinated and get autism. Is there any difference between the rate of those kids? Well, no, not really. So maybe vaccines don't cause autism, or maybe they do. I allow that just for the sake. But we definitely know that lack of vaccines causes measles and other epidemics and so on. So how do we really get kids to be more healthy? Since that's what we care about. So again, the strategy going, meta, going above the conversation, is to get to them emotionally, show them that you're on the same page and you care about the same thing, and then talk to them from that perspective that you share their goals, which is about kids and having good healthcare, and then talk about how do you get the most health for kids. This is the same way you talk about, you talk to conservatives about, not hating on Muslims. Are you really going to be more secure if you try to persecute all Muslims? If we want safety and security, is that really a good idea? So again, orienting towards shared goals, empathizing with them, and then leading them to the conclusion that's actually based on reality.
Yep. And that's how I deal with folks like Jada Franson from Britain First. I know you guys remember her being on. We even kind of did that with Avery O'Neill, with her Black Panther movement, and then you're trying to understand the past with the present and what it still represents, but you can still empathize with her journey and where she's at to where she's at now. And I do find that works really, really well. But I find it's really harder to pull that off with liberals to some degree, because they kind of know the routine of empathizing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one stalemate. I have a really hard time, no matter how patient or empathetic you can be, that they're just concerned about the welfare of children. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, they know where you're going, it seems like. And I've run across the same thing with the argument with GMOs. It's, I have an easier time dealing with people with the moon landing being a hoax or not than I do GMOs and vaccinations. I know, right? It's just like we're really still having this conversation. I mean, oh my goodness. But
yeah.
So sorry, my chair's not behaving.
Sure. No, it's frustrating, but it's something that we need to do. This is kind of what the research shows is the most effective way. And you're not going to reach everyone, but you will reach a number of people. So
yeah, I think it's important to reach the people sometimes who's watching your exchange instead.
Yeah, that's very important. So when I go on conservative radio shows, I've generally been able to get conservatives to update, but it's I'm also really focused on the people listening rather than the person I'm talking to. But I'm making sure to be kind and generous toward the person I'm talking to, compliment him or her, and be empathetic, be relatable.
And see, that's what I'd like to see some of the leaders of our secular and atheist movement do. Mm-hmm. This firebrand atheism, I do not agree with. I don't think that's helping. It's just two people screaming at each other from opposite sides.
Yes. It doesn't change minds. It feels fun to the people, I mean, it's fun to argue and fun to, shout, but it doesn't actually change minds. Research shows that arguments often result in people actually strengthening their previously held position. It's a thinking error called the backfire effect, where people presented with information, factual information that goes against their worldview, tend to hold on more strongly to their worldview if the information is presented in a hostile, confrontational manner, because they feel that they're being attacked and they shut down emotion.
Now, do you have a particular favorite, quote unquote, role model within the secular, humanistic, atheistic movements?
Joe Kindick,
Good
right?
question. Sure. Let's see. I like August Brunsman, who's the executive director of the Secular Student Alliance.
Yes.
I think he has built up a really great organization that specifically orients toward things like reason, social justice, empathy, meaning, and purpose, creating communities for students and getting them actively involved out there, passionate about changing the world in a positive manner. So I really
Coming for the kids, man. Coming for those kids. That's what
Absolutely.
I tell people.
So I really appreciate the work that he does. Yeah. So that's something I'm passionate about. And going back to the previous stuff that we're talking about how to get people engaged in the truth, like I said, a good way to get them engaged in the truth is, first of all, to agree on what behaviors constitute the truth, which is what the Pro-Truth Pledge at protruthpledge.org is about. Get people to agree on those behaviors, get them to take the pledge, and say that, I've taken the pledge, will you take the pledge also? And then you can have a productive, positive conversation because you're all on the same page about what behaviors constitute orientation toward the truth.
Yeah, and you can politely keep them guided away when they start like moving goalposts. You can be really gentle with the way you kind of corral them back. Like, yeah, that is an important topic, but this one that we're dealing with, I just don't blah, blah, blah. I do that a lot where you have to keep redirecting them back and they don't feel like, they're being pinned down. So that's very, very good advice. It is. What do you guys think about the larger scope? I mean, what do you hope to do with your organization long term, let's say 10 years down the road? Where do you hope to be?
Sure. So I'll focus on the Pro-Truth Pledge first. The Pro-Truth Pledge is meant not simply for ordinary people to take it, but it's meant especially for public figures. So our goal is for public figures of all sorts, anyone who's a public figure, including podcast hosts like yourself or me as an interview guest, but we're kind of like small potatoes public figures. We want especially politicians at all levels to take this Pro-Truth Pledge, and journalists who are prominent, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, to take the Pro-Truth Pledge. And they will be thus bound by the 13 behaviors that are demonstrated there, and they can be called out when they violate any of these behaviors.
Why don't you review those real quick, just to kind of let people know.
Sure. I can give them examples. So folks who are listening or watching can go to protruthpledge.org to check these behaviors out, but I'll read some out right now. So one of these is, I will strive to avoid sharing misinformation, which includes clear lies, statements that go against reliable fact-checking organizations, or the scientific consensus on a given topic, even in service to a cause I believe is good. Verify. Before I share information, I will make a reasonable effort to ensure it is true. Defend. I will endeavor to defend others when they come under attack for sharing the truth, even if we have different values. Retract. If my information is challenged, I will make a reasonable effort to verify that it is true before repeating it, and retract it if I cannot verify it. Celebrate updating. I will gladly celebrate those who retract incorrect statements and update their beliefs toward the truth. So these are just some out of many, out of the 13 behaviors. I listed 5. Out of the 13 behaviors that research in behavioral science shows correlate with orienting toward the truth. And so this is what we want all public figures and all private citizens as well to take. So all the listeners to the show to go take. The more people we have taking the pledge, the more pressure we put on everyone else to take the pledge, both private citizens and especially public figures. That's why it's so important for everyone to take the pledge.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the hugest, if that's such a word. I'm trying to be Trump right now. Hugest
It's hugest.
issues right now.
Hugest.
It's the hugest and the bigliest issues on hand. I know, right? You like that? It is especially due diligence. Doing your due diligence is huge. And it's something that takes dedication and it takes practice. Practice. Just like writing, if you don't dedicate constant, consistent time to sit down and do your penning, you're not going to be doing very well, with what you're putting out. You'll be doing more work. And I think impartiality is huge too. It's okay to be passionate about a certain cause or issue or story, but at the same time, you can't let that cloud the reality of what you're sharing. If it's not in your favor, then it's not in your favor. I almost call that, you kind of have a devil's advocate. You have to, even I don't believe, it's like you have an angel here, you got to get a little devil there, just to kind of, keep it straight. You've got to look at it from all sides. I tell people that all the time when it comes to critical thinking. Science can be applied to everything in your life, everything.
And this is exactly why it's so important for the pro-truth pledge to become widespread, because your perspective, what you're describing, is the best perspective for everyone to have, but it's not the perspective that naturally wins out in society. Naturally, emotional appeals and people who shout the loudest and appear the strongest appeal. So this is why people say, lie will go around the world before truth has its boots on. Because we don't have a way to reward and incentivize the truth. Now, if someone takes the pro-truth pledge, you know that they're committed to these 13 behaviors, and their words are going to be much more trustworthy. So if we have, podcast hosts or politicians or journalists who take this pledge, then they have an opportunity to share about why they took the pledge. That's going to be sent out to all the people who subscribe to the pledge and the email updates. And therefore, they have an opportunity to build a bigger audience. And also, they have an opportunity to put on their website, on their social media page, whatever, a link to the pledge saying, I took the pledge, please hold me accountable. And so that way, you can have an instant seal of approval, like the BBB, that you care about the pro-truth pledge. And if the public figure says something incorrect, you can immediately go to the pro-truth pledge website and report that and start the investigative process, which we can talk about. But there's a monitoring and evaluating process that helps hold public figures to the pro-truth.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it seems like it's something that has a very nice domino effect if people participate. It has to spread, it will spread. It'll just keep bringing in more people, because that way of thinking, it does boost your ego a little bit too. It does. It feels good to know, hey, I actually looked into this. I know what the hell I'm actually talking about here. I don't have to worry about rebutting somebody's stupid meme because I know what I posted was accurate. It brings a little bit of self-confidence to what you're understanding. And I don't think people completely understand that at first. It's very rewarding. It is rewarding. I'll
definitely check into the link tomorrow and see about sharing it on social media for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is something that we encourage all people who take the pro-truth pledge to do when they share articles in social media, is to have a little blurb saying, P.S. I took the pro-truth pledge, and because I took the pro-truth pledge at protruthpledge.org, I checked and verified the source of this article, and I think the article is credible and the headline represents the article well. If I'm wrong, please let me know. So that's like an immediate statement of your credibility. You not only get to feel it internally, but you get to show it externally. And that gives your words immediately more credibility than it would, Joe Schmo on the street down there.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is important, though. People are going to need... There is a lack of reading comprehension in application, though, in this country. Yep. It's around the world, but when we're saying, oh, yeah, I checked this, it's credible as far as I know that I can tell that I believe. It's like when I was researching and I was going through the healthcare plan, I didn't just take snippets and make my comments. The senators, I don't know if you watched the debate, they were like, oh, this is only 2 pages long and these Democrat senators wouldn't read it. It's like, it's more than 2 pages because you've got to go and recheck the statutes that they were changing to see how they were changing and how it affected the larger body of work.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of effort,
Absolutely.
And so what kind of check do you have for someone that's saying they checked it and then someone comes back and goes, well, I think this source was right? I mean, where do you bring in the education needed? Do you have guides or videos on your website for people to kind of delve in and get a little more educated on what they need to do, or an online course?
So we have, first of all, this is a very crowdsourced effort. We're very kind of have an Wikipedia-style anarchist perspective. It's not like anything government-sponsored. There's no large big brother watching you. It's all about your community. So when most people, when they share an article, if I see that someone in my community shares an article that, like, I think, is this true or not? Like, I'm not sure I'm going to take the time to look into it, especially, like, do I want the debate? Do I want the confrontation with this person if it turns out to be inaccurate? Many people don't want that. But if someone says, P.S., because I took the pro-truth pledge, I looked into this article and I think it's credible, I think the headline matches it, please correct me if I'm wrong, that welcomes conversations. That encourages conversations. That says, yes, I want to update and I want to celebrate updating, improving my beliefs. That invites this source of collaboration. So it's asking other people in your community to help you be more right. Because, we don't all have the time to do the thorough research that you do, Kate. But you have the time to correct us if we're wrong, and that's wonderful. That's great that somebody does the research. Somebody does the research on this, and somebody does the research on that. One of the things we are working on in the future as part of the Pro-Truth Pledge is creating groups, local groups in cities that are going to be Pro-Truth Pledge advocates that will meet up and that will dedicate a session of their meeting to examining their beliefs. What do I think about gun control? That's a hot topic, right? What's the science on gun control? Are my views in alignment with the reality? Are my views in alignment with experts? And that's great when you can update your beliefs and you celebrate the updating. You say, yay, now my perspective is more accurate. I was looking into gun control recently. Previously, I was in favor of waiting periods for gun control, but I've recently found science showing that waiting periods actually don't change anything in terms of gun deaths. So they don't change anything. And I'm like, okay, I changed my mind. Congratulations, self. I celebrate my own updating. So wouldn't it be great if we had groups who did that together? A community updating and collaboration around these conversations. So there's so many things that can result out of being part of an in-person or virtual community. We also have a virtual community of Pro-Truth Pledge advocates, and that's really cool. So if you all free to take the Pro-Truth Pledge, I'll add you to the Facebook group. We have conversations all the time. Like right now, there's a meme there that has a number of things about, Trump did this well and did that well, and people are picking it apart, like looking at all the details, which are true and which are not. That's great. So you can have the same thing for Democrats. Democrats did this. Accomplishments. Well, pick it apart and see what the things are that they actually did well when the Democrats are in power. Obviously, they're not right now. So right now, it's about Trump. What did Trump do? So this is what we can do, and this is the power of having a truth-oriented community that you join by taking this pledge, and that other people who took it are oriented toward the truth, and you can always call them out if they don't follow one of these behaviors.
Wow, that's just such great dedication that you and your wife, and I mean, you've got quite a few other people on your team now, from what I could see. And again, that is intentionalinsights.org. Gleb Tsipursky, we've got probably about a minute left in this segment. Is there any other information or website or Facebook location that people can go to? Because they probably prefer social media than your main website, maybe.
Yeah, so they can go to Intentional Insights on Facebook and Twitter. They can look me up on Facebook and Twitter. So it's Gleb, Gleb Tsipursky, Tsipursky. And if they want to take the Pro-Truth Pledge, they'll go to protruthpledge.org. And since there's only a few seconds left, I want to check if the three of you will take the Pro-Truth Pledge.
Oh, of
Totally.
course. I mean, shouldn't be too hard since I pretty much practice it, and when I do see an error, I fix it. So, what about you guys?
Oh yeah, totally. Totes.
Yeah, I'm psyched about this.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, make sure to note that you're public figures and give a blurb about why you took the Pro-Truth Pledge and link to the podcast so that that gets sent around, because you deserve the recognition as a truth-oriented podcast, and take away some listenership and viewership from people who aren't so truth-oriented.
Absolutely. We'll get it done, man.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you
All right.
so much for being on tonight. And
Yeah, thank you for
rest of your
coming on,
week.
Gleb. I definitely appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Great. I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. All right. Bye-bye,
Have a
folks.
great night. Look
Good
forward
night.
to seeing more from you in your new book.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, why did everybody freeze?
I'm here.
Kate froze.
Kate froze. Kate,
Well, that was fun.
that was awesome. I wanted to comment on a few of the segments in there, but he just took control of the mic and he ran with it, and I just wanted to keep up.
It was his world, man. His world.
Yeah.
I did think some of the finding the common ground thing when he was talking about being on Fox News in Ohio. My first thought was, if he came down here like, "Where are you from, boy?" That's my first
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. Oh, that's exactly what anybody around here would ask him. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. My my real life person has already taken the pledge, and I'll send you a
Oh,
link.
really?
To the Facebook. Yeah, I'll send you a link from the Facebook page.
Oh, do that. Well, where the hell is Kate?
Why did she mute me? What the hell?
Where the hell is Kate?
So why did she mute me?
Who the hell knows, man?
Oh. So how you been, Woodmore?
Oh, man, I've been great, man. I enjoy doing the show, and I just got burned out after a while. And there's some stuff that changed with the program, and when it happened, I just kind of bailed out on it for a little while. I had to take care of me for a little bit.
No, do you, brother? You like the new live
Yeah.
format? You don't have to fucking edit.
Huh?
You like
Oh,
doing
yeah,
this shit
yeah.
live?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
So anyway, I ended up getting married to a beautiful woman I've known for decades.